Hey everyone, the new line Yo Tanks is finally here, and in this video we'll be reviewing the tier 6 or the first line of the tank, Pawlack. Do keep in mind that true Yo Tank starts from tier 7, but tier 6 is the first tank you have to get before you can start grinding. You can get this tank right away if you have T1 heavy elite. So let's get started with the setup and crew. For equipment I'm using advanced loader, improved ventilation, and advanced optics. I'm not using gun stabilizer because it cannot mount gun stabilizer. Gun stabilizer you can start mounting from tier 7 in most tanks. For crew I'm going with my E5 crew, so bond leader, rapid loading, steady aim, snapshot, 6th sense, armor angling, track mechanic, situational awareness, and run and gun. For this one I'm using track mechanic, but I can drop track mechanic starting tier 7 because, you know, the Yo tank, that's where they start. So looking at the armor wheel, it is a single shot tank, solid gun depression though. For tier 6, it can bounce the same tiers just due to different angles. It doesn't have, you know, like any red armor here, but still, like I got to able to bounce multiple shots, even like some tier 7s, because they were using standard shells. You can get lucky, but again, if they hit the flat parts, they can pen you. As you can see, like different armor play due to different angles. There are like a lot of armor play. There's green, there's yellow. So yeah, if they're hitting that angle when you're like, let's say, reversing, it can bounce due to angles. Not due to the armor though, but of course they can pen it like right in the middle. This is the easiest spot, the least angled part. So they kind of have like two hulls. So there's a lower hull and then, or you can call it like a big turret cheek. And then of course they can also pen you on the gun mantlet if you shooting premium on the same tier, or even with standard you might be able to with high penetration tanks. And of course tier 7 and tier 8, as long as they're hitting the flat parts, they're gonna pen you. But overall, the tank felt pretty fun to play because of its mobility. So looking at the modules here, engine at the back, and then you have ammo rack in the turret, back of the turret in the center, and then 4 crew members, 3 in the turret and 1 in the driver, or a driver in the hatch. Looking at the stats, this is of course after my equipment and crew. And as mentioned earlier, the tank felt nice to play, like it wasn't suffering, because a lot of the heavy tanks, if they're slow, right, you kind of felt that it's painful to play because they're sluggish. But that wasn't the case with this tank. But I was playing this tank, it kind of resembles me of Chog. You know the difference between 60 TP and Chog. 60 TP is sluggish. You feel frustrating when playing that tank. But Chog is like more mobile. You can rotate quickly, more flexible, and it's much more enjoyable to play. And that was the experience with this tank. I'll have 2 games as well. So one with the stock and top tier. And even stock is not a bad grind at all. So looking at the stats, 45 reverse, 45 forward, 14 reverse, 17.57 power to weight, 950 HP, terrain resistance of 2.17, 1.7, and 1 octane terrain resistance, hull rotation 32, um, concealment stationary 405, 426. Of course, it's a heavy tank, so no concealment. View range 471, turret rotation 38.76, elevation 15, and gun depression of 9 degrees. Reload 6.4 with the top gun, of course. Accuracy 0.33, accuracy during movement 3.14, aim time 2.17. And yeah, the accuracy during turret rotation was 1.21. Aim time 2.1 seconds. Single shot, decent amount of shells. 54 standard AP, premium APCR, 30 is HE. 2200 average DPM. Standard shell penetration of 160, premium 205. And HE is 45. 240 alpha for standard and 324 HE. And then the shell velocity for AP is 972, 1177 for APCR. At 853 for HE. Overall, tank's a decent tank. As I said, it's a fun grind, and so far, looking at the stats and how this tank played, it looks like it's going to be an exciting grind, and a tier 10 might be fun as well because it gets 2 options. So let's see how this tank actually performs in the battlefield now. For the first map, I'm in Siege Freed Line, and I'm almost stock. I say almost because I had the engine upgrade, but everything else was stock. The turret was stock, and the gun was stock. So I do have the low alpha gun or the stock gun, but still, as I said, it isn't a painful grind because the one thing that this tank has is the mobility, and that happens or carries out throughout the line, so you don't feel that sluggishness. And somewhere, or even the passive impact of sluggishness is you just feel lazy because you know your tank's going to be slow to rotate and you just stay at bad positions longer. And that's not the case with this tank. It is a heavy, but it can play like a medium. Of course, you don't have the medium camo, but in terms of mobility, solid speed, as well as horsepower to weight, and you can rotate pretty effectively, and does have nice gun as well, as you'll see. So going to the holding position immediately, should have gone here right away. In the beginning, I was thinking, let's go to field, but to be honest, who am I kidding? They'll always have someone on the field which will farm me. So going to my favorite position towards the town, hull down, and there's the VK. I am firing premium, of course, because, you know, I'm stock, and premium is APCR as well. So I ended up ammo wrecking VK Alpha. It was his side, to be fair, so pretty easy. Pence, he's pushing forward, and now we have T-150 trying to shoot him through these pillars, destroying the object, and then a nice pen. We have another tank looking at my tank, T-20 tier 7. He thinks he can bully Pawlack, you know, it is the new tank effect. Whenever they see two tanks and one of them is new, guess who will get the special treatment or the stalking treatment? It will be the new tank. He bounced the first shot, as you can see, 240, and I got a little bit overconfident, right? The first one, that's what I was talking, it was a rushed shot, poorly aimed, so angle comes into play, and that's why I bounced, and when I was stationary, they ended up penning me. The stock gun or high rate of fire gun is helpful for me getting two shots out. And also the thing with the lower tier is usually the tanks are stock if they're tech tree, or they're not running with full cruise. So if you are someone who is running lower tiers with full cruise, you'll always have an advantage, and also skill level is relatively easier at the lower tiers. So these tanks just perform better, especially if you're mid tier or top tier, just because you have more control of the game due to more experience if you regularly play tier 10. So overall, I found this tank fun to play. Another nice shot into T-20, 480 blocked so far. And in this point, I'm like, I have to be careful now because I've lost half my health and we are losing by 2 tanks. HP even, so we can still make a comeback, and hence I have to be more careful not to throw away my HP. T-20 is trying to get a shot into Pawlack. No, T-20. I got lucky there, by the way. He bounced again, and so did the other Pawlack. And I think that's just... that Pawlack has a bigger gun because I have 4 shots blocked, 960, everyone 240 alpha flat. But that's my guess. He either hit the angle, and maybe he's also using standard shells and not premium, and hence the higher chance of bouncing. He decided to disengage from the battle. Why would you not? Because this Pawlack, who might be stock, but it is wild, just pumping out damage, 2300 damage already. Waiting for the opening, not gonna be aggressive here until their Pawlack is dead, and he goes down by Borsig. So we do have the opening to push forward here, and we're also winning by 3 tanks, closing in the distance. I still have to be careful though, because what do we have? Another Pawlack. Why are we surprised? Because it's a new tank. Everyone wants to get their hands on the new shiny piece of metal. So you do see, you know, especially at tier 6, you see a lot of them, then you see a little bit less at tier 7, and for even more less at tier 8, and usually by tier 9 or 10, you don't see that many, probably 1 or 2 per game. And that happens with every tank, right? Because the grinds are easier and more fun at lower tiers, and then it takes a lot longer at higher. Waiting for this other Pawlack to fire, he's not looking at me, using that opportunity, bang! This is where high alpha would have been more helpful. He fired, but I don't know what gun he's running. Is he stock? Does he have the same gun as me? That means he has the better rate of fire, or is he fully upgraded, which means I can't pen? Well, I don't know. So I'm just gonna wait for my TD to peak, take a shot, and then I can trade. He's focusing on the Borsig, I think, or the Tech Destroyer, allowing me the perfect opportunity to just farm him. It was Sturm, actually. Couple shots, but he do end up going down. 148 HP remaining. I do get shot from a tank from 8-9 line though, while I was tunnel visioning on that tier 6. This tank also looks like chalk. If you look at the hull, it looks like a Polish hull. Even the tier 7 Polish, I think it's like that, the hull, but the look changes significantly as you progress. They get taller, weird alien looking tank, but still maintain their mobility. They're slightly better shell velocity than the other single shot tech tree line, and of course at tier 10 you get the monster 12 degrees. So I think the grind is worth it. I was like confused how the tank will play. Will it be enjoyable? But as I'm I've played tier 6 so far, and it maintains the same mobility, so I'm looking forward to it. It's not going to be sluggish. And then everything else, you can make it work. The DPM isn't the greatest with 440 alpha, but it's still solid. But do keep in mind, we just have to figure out how reliable the armor and the gun depression is. And depending on that, if you have like average DPM but solid gun handling, gun depression, and armor, you can make it work. But if, let's say, you don't have DPM and then your gun depression or gun handling isn't that great either, or the armor, then you cannot make it work. So we'll have to see how it actually plays out. So 3400 damage, 3 kills, HMH 58, last remaining enemy tank. Will he stay in the cap? I am closing. I'm one shot for him. It's a 3-shot autoloader. The only scenario where I survive is if he's reloading. I can pen before he's loaded. However, he leaves the cap. So just pushing forward. I already have a decent game for a tier 6. Especially because I was bottom tier and I'm stock. So probably one of the best game. I mean, I already finished the grind, so I'm not going to have a better game than this. Especially at a stock tank. But even overall, I would say pretty solid game. That's the first round. HMH 58. He's shooting standard. I thought maybe he'll pen me now. No. RNG is on my side. One more shot. Bang. Another bounce. He was going for the lower plate, and I think he kept hitting the beak or something. He survived though. I would have killed him now, but our team ended up capping. Nonetheless, I do survive, and that's what I was talking about. The armor, the angles can be very helpful. So ace tanker nonetheless with the stock, 3800. And moving on to our second game, now I'm fully upgraded. The turret, the gun, the alpha, and of course the engine as well. It is a bigger map as well. Alamein, the beautiful, beautiful map. Look at the clear skies, huh? How can you hate this map? So pushing forward towards the K line, I am in platoon with another tier 6. But probably he's a newer player, so I have to teach him how to play, you know? No, just kidding. He's faster. I'm running optics for my third equipment, but the Pawlack on my right is running power terrain and loader and vent. So you can see the difference in mobility. I'm taking the riskier route mainly because it's tier 6. I'm pretty sure they don't have the view range or the aggression to spot me. However, this is a bad cross. You should play safe and always go through the left side. But when you're sluggish or slow or heavy, you get lazy and you take shortcuts and end up losing HP. And halfway through I realized that why am I taking that risk? Why I want to lose HP for no reason, huh? And hence, now going to a relatively safer road, still not spotted. Our light tank is leading the charge. No one has been spotted so far. We are going left and right, and they're probably in the middle. Enjoying the skies, clear skies. A nice summer day. Their Pawlack gets spotted. Since I wasn't being targeted, just being aggressive, pushing forward. We do have light shielding me or spotting anyone if they are sniping. For the most part. There were still some areas they could have shot me from that light tank wouldn't spot. I do have other tanks supporting me. We lost our first tank. Trying to be careful here not to bleed HP. 9 degrees still solid, but would have been better if I had 10. The BDR taking his first shot, and that's the alpha. 240 alpha, of course, takes long reload, but for heavy, higher alpha make more sense because you trade better. And T1 heavy coming in for that sauce. Okay, T1 heavy, you're a tier 5, and I'm a fully upgraded tier 6. And get that new tank RNG. Have to be careful not to take a shot on the side turret. Unfortunate bounce on the T1 heavy. I think I hit his like a mantelate or some weird angle. But if I had aimed properly, the tier 5 could have bounced any of my shots. Our team is losing. We have lost the 9-0 line where we had a lot of tanks. So they have a breakthrough. We have to be quick to push this side. I don't know where that shell went. That's the thing with the high alpha, right? When you have higher alpha, you have worse gun handling than the low alpha gun, and I should have aimed a little bit longer. Wouldn't have wasted another shell on him. TD, he goes down. So we did a cleanup here, but there's still one more tank remaining. I don't want to be the first one to, because I'm top tier and could be a good game. So trying to go with the team, not trying to be a hero here. They're almost at our base over on the other side though. Peeking, what do they have? Shafi, aiming, and okay, not sure where the shell went. Unlucky. Unlucky. Second shell. Bounce the side of E2. Again, there is some serious RNG going on. Maybe they took away my CC RNG. Might have to message them again to apply the extra 50% RNG. That's the only valid reason. That's the only thing that makes sense. Nonetheless, E2 goes down. So does Super Chefy. Now it's just another Pawlack. And that's what I was telling. Like, I should have just aimed at his side turret, but I aimed at his turret ring, ended up bouncing. And that's another thing, right? This tank is a little bit unique structure. So pushing in here because we don't have much time. They are capping, we're losing, and I had full faith in my team that they would not push if I don't just rush in. Because if we could have all just stayed here. So I decided to push. Crucial is going back for reset. He was asking for help here, blaming me for not coming back to rescue. And you can see the panic already. He's losing HP left and right. He wants to win. Meanwhile, I'm playing the long game here. Nonetheless, he finished the 2 tanks. Still not able to spot the base. He did take like a wrong route. He's coming from the middle. Should have hugged the border, but he didn't have optics. So he's trying his best to get a reset. Meanwhile, he's being ambushed by a long bomb. 3 seconds remaining. I get a shot into long bomb. He ended up spotting the guy on the target, but our team ended up not hitting. There was one guy who might have had shot, but he missed. Nonetheless, a solid tank. So that's it for this video. Also, guys, if you are still not in a regiment, make sure to join our community regiment. Link in description, Loki hyphen, so that you can earn regiment coins. So that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Do let me know in comments what you think about the tank.